Motoring 94 is brought to you by Quaker State. Quaker State, one tough motor oil. And Midas, for brake, exhaust, suspension, and steering service. Trust your car to Midas.
Nobody knows for sure, but it would be my guess that drag racing has been around since the Model T Ford. Hello everybody and welcome to Motoring 94. Now obviously the cars are much faster today, but the rules of this game remain the same. To see who can be the fastest over a quarter-mile strip. But who are these people? Are they those wild and aggressive drivers we all try and avoid out on the highway? Well, we're here at the London Motorsport Park in Sparta, Ontario, site of the Canadian Muscle Car Nationals. We're going to wander around and meet some of these men and women and try and find out what makes a drag racer tick.
Part is they actually get out and see what the cars really do. Everybody, as they're in their garage and having a couple cold ones, believe their car really can go fast. But the true fact is that once they get out here and electronically prove who is the fastest, you see a lot of different things.
What would make you want to bring your street car onto a drag race like this?
To me, I think it's a whole lot safer than being out in the street. Everything's controlled, and you can actually see how it stacks up. Like if you're racing on the street, there's a lot of guesswork involved, but here, numbers don't lie, so you've got that right on paper.
Well, I've been doing it for about 10 years. I was born in the early 60s, so I never experienced the rush of the 60s of drag racing when it started. But going back in time, I wish I was living in the 60s, and drag racing's a big phenomenon. It's taken off down here at London Motorsports Park, and it's got a great future ahead of it, and I love it. It's bragging rights. You can spend a lot of money for the little money you make, but I think most of it's bragging rights. That's the main thing.
I just got the urge one day and built a car with my dad, and we just decided to do it. I've been doing it since about 1975. You got the urge to go racing. It doesn't matter whether you're driving grandma's Olds or a Model A. You get the urge, just go do it.
Well, I actually got into drag racing because my husband's a drag racer for 20 years. And I thought maybe I'd give it a try and see if I liked it. I do like it. I love the speed. I think the speed is what turns me on the most. My mom, she's a little concerned. She hasn't seen me race yet. She wants to, but she's a little concerned. Our daughter, she thinks it's great. I drive a 66 Comet. It's a 427. The best time I've done is a 1083 at 125 mile an hour.
Well, we're going to come up and try to pre-stage the car first. Try to get the tires nice and hot so we get it off the line properly without any tire spin.
Is there much strategy to what's going to happen now with this start?
There's a lot of strategy. I find out that the older you are, the better you are at it.
What are we driving?
We're driving a 63 Falcon Futura. This is water. People think it's bleach sometimes, but it's not. Tires should be good and hot.
Now what happens?
Now you pull up to the pre-stage lights up there in the tree. You see them come on. We pre-stage the pre-stage light. Then you have to bump in to see the second light come on. Okay, so the second light comes on. I usually bump it in once. Then you get ready to go.
How fast we get going there?
trick about drag racing is to make sure that you beat the other guy through the lights, but don't go underneath your time. In this kind of bracket racing, the bracket racing we're doing.
Did you ever do this as a kid?
I did it as a kid, but it's the only sport I know of. The older you get, the better you seem to get at it.
You win, pays the bills, but if you don't win, hey, it's always next weekend.
When Kelly Batten wasn't serving customers at his popular Toronto butcher store, you could usually find him out with his prized dragster, which he built from scratch. On September the 4th, 1993, Kelly died when his car crashed during a time trial at the London Motorsport Park. He'll be missed by his wife Lila, his 3-year-old son Stephen, and the countless people who look forward each week to Kelly's stories about Sundays at the drag strip. Test Drive with Graham Fletcher.
This week on Test Drive, we look at one of 3 totally new BMWs. Now, this vehicle is the 540, and what makes it so special is the 4-litre V8 engine you'll find under the hood. The 3 new BMWs are the 530 sedan, 530 touring wagon, and our 540 tester. The only real difference between these being engine displacement. As the name implies, the 530 uses a smaller 3-litre version of the 4-litre found in our test car. These new engines use some technology that is as fancy as the engine's appearance. For example, rather than using steel liners in the aluminum block, BMW deposit a layer of nickel onto the aluminum bore. This gives them a long-lasting finish without the associated weight of the steel liners. While an advanced technology, it is not a new one because BMW motorcycles have been using this process for several years. Again, to reduce engine weight, the intake manifold is made of a special thermoplastic rather than the more traditional aluminum. Aside from that, the engine is similar to other modern V8s in that it features 4 cams, 32 valves, direct ignition, and a very sophisticated engine management system. The result is an ultra-smooth and powerful 4-litre engine that produces 282 horses and 295 pounds-feet of torque. Enviable figures by any standards. On the skid pad, this power translated into acceleration times of just 7 seconds to the 100k mark. On the highway, the performance when the engine comes on cam is nothing short of phenomenal. Matched with this wonderful engine is what can only be described as the next generation of automatic transmission. It is a 3-mode, 5-speed automatic box that ensures the very best is derived from the engine. In the snowflake mode, the car pulls away in 2nd gear, giving better traction in winter. The other 2 modes are your usual economy and sport. While the upshift characteristics of these 2 are entirely different, I rarely found the need to engage the sport mode because economy offers all one could want. The best fuel economy, and yet trump the gas pedal, and all the power comes online almost instantaneously. When we road tested the 325i, I noted that was the fastest car ever through the pylon test. Well, it still has its record intact. However, the 540 came awfully close. Where this car comes into its own is on the highway. The ride is absolutely impeccable. It just goes to show that it is possible to get ride, comfort, and handling in one package. The 540 features a 4-wheel ventilated disc brake system complete with anti-lock. During the brake tests, I required just 114 feet to stop from 80k. The nice part about the brakes is the pedal feel. It, like the system itself, is very crisp to the touch. Working using much of the ABS hardware is BMW's sophisticated traction control system dubbed ASC plus T, or Automatic Stability Control plus Traction. This system improves vehicle stability, predictability and feel enormously, all but eliminating the fear of unwanted oversteer and sudden traction loss in severe weather conditions. One of the really neat features on this Bimmer is the right side mirror. When you engage reverse, the whole thing tilts down and gives you a bird's eye view of the curb. Now that makes parking this thing a piece of cake. Inside, the 540 is very elegantly attired, featuring just enough wooden accents to add warmth without being gaudy. It also comes equipped with just about every conceivable luxury item known to man. You'll find all the usual power items, plus a dual set of climate controls for the front passengers, a wonderful audio system that comes complete with a trunk-mounted CD changer, an analog dash that is easily read, and a bunch of controls that are logically laid out and easy to reach and operate. Well, that wraps up one of the most enjoyable test drives I've ever had. Seldom do you find a car that combines sportiness and panache quite as well as this 540 does. Now, without tipping my hand too much, I think it's safe to say that anything that's going to beat this car for our car of the year is going to have to be exceptionally good.
You know, you might not think of drag racing as a family affair, but believe me, most of the drivers here have their family out here at the London Motorsport Park. And speaking of family men, let's now head to the garage and join Bill Gardner. Although Bill's kids are still a little young, I'll bet you the Gardner family will be having a few excursions to the drag strip in the near future.
With the tremendous volume of traffic on the roads these days, it's very important to have a properly functioning turn signal system. Now, when you have problems with that system, by far the most likely cause of your problems is a blown bulb. So check the bulbs first. And if the problem is particular to one side of the vehicle only, it's most likely a blown bulb on that side. So make sure that you check those bulbs first, front and rear. And when you get around to the rear, make sure that you're familiar if the vehicle has multiple bulbs in the rear, and many of today's cars do. Make sure that you understand which areas should be illuminated when the signal's on. If you're in doubt, consult another vehicle or the other side of that same one if the other side's working properly. If the signals don't work at all on either side, there's a good chance that it's the turn signal flasher, and that's inside the vehicle. Now, in this case, the flashers are located on the fuse panel. We've loosened it and brought it down so you can see it a little bit better. But in any case, consult your owner's manual. It will tell you the location of the flashers. In many cases, they're behind the dash in some other area. They may even be over by the glove box in some cars. But like I said, the owner's manual will tell you. Now, what we've done today is we've cut apart a bimetal flasher. There's the cover for it. I've just cut it off with a hacksaw so that you can see how simple that unit is. And it just plugs in to the fuse panel like this. It just pushes in. When we turn the signal on, you can see the bimetal strip in that flasher. It heats up and pops apart, cools, and it springs back together. And the contacts make and break on that flasher unit. That's what gives you the flashing action in the turn signal system. Now, it's an easy thing to replace. It just pulls in and out. This flasher that you can see over here still has its cover on, and this one's for the four-way flashers, and it's a slightly different flasher. In many cases, they're color keyed, with the blue one being the turn signal and the yellow one being the hazard or four-way flasher. But there again, your owner's manual will give you a schematic to show you which flasher does which. In many cases, you can track these things down by the sound or by feeling your way in, but that, of course, assumes that they still are working to some extent. So if they're not working at all, there again, you'll have to consult the owner's manual just to locate them. Now, I tend to prefer this type of flasher. This is an accessory or aftermarket flasher called an electronic flasher. This is the one that you'll have to use if you add a boat trailer or any kind of trailer to your vehicle. In order to flash extra bulbs, you will need one of these heavy-duty electronic flashers. Now, you can hear that that flasher makes a much more solid sound, and that's the part that I like about it. With this type of flasher, you can't inadvertently forget that you've left your signals on. You'll hear that solid clacking even over top of wind noise or a radio, and you'll know that you've left that signal on. With the simple bimetal one that comes with the car, you can't hear that over wind noise or other distractions. The only problem with this type of flasher is it's not self-diagnostic. When bulbs blow, this one will continue to flash at the same speed. This simple little bimetal flasher that I showed you, the stock flasher, will slow down or completely stop when bulbs go out, or when you add bulbs like plug in a trailer, it will speed up and go at a very rapid speed. I'm sure many of you have tried wiring up a boat trailer with a stock flasher and found that that flasher just blinks at a really high speed. Just remember that you don't have that self-diagnostic capability, so you do have to check the bulbs periodically. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 94.
Trucking isn't what it used to be. And to prove the point, Freightliner organized a rodeo at Mosport racetrack. The question is, why?
Very simply, to give Freightliner customers and potential customers an opportunity to see what Freightliner has done about visibility and maneuverability in medium-duty trucks, the business class trucks, to see how they compare directly to the competition, and to give the customers and prospective customers an opportunity to compare those and to see how they'll turn into dollars and cents in their own operation.
At the start of the staging area here, work to the front of the vehicles. There's so many of you. We would like you to team up. Even though you're riding or a driver, we would like you to use seat belts. We want to be safe out there today. If you get into some of the obstacle course areas, if you knock over 1 or 2 cones, we have cone setters out there. Don't knock over the cone setters, just the cones. Now, if you're going to wipe out an entire area, we may ask you to back up and readjust, okay? A little rap on the horn before you go put it in reverse, okay, gentlemen? Even though you have brand in your fleet right now, we wish you to have a chance to ride or drive in it just to compare it. Going around that same cone gives you a better understanding of turning radius, visibility, etc. Okay? Let's go have some fun, gentlemen.
While the participants put a variety of trucks through their paces, acceleration, braking, and some very tight lock-to-lock maneuvers, a very graphic demonstration was taking place. It effectively confirmed that anti-lock brakes improve the stability and ability of any vehicle.
ABS is a proven way to save money and to enhance safety. It's very simple. It's a sensible choice for just about every kind of truck operator. There's a lot of technology in them that there wasn't even 10 or 15 years ago. Traction control is a good example. The electronics in the engines, there's a lot of drive-by-wire technology these days as well. They both enhance the productivity and reduce the maintenance costs and operating costs.
I'm the fleet manager at Peter Hodge Transport. I think time will tell whether it'll be reliable or not. The ABS system works well, but we're concerned what it'll cost to maintain the ABS system along the way over the years. I don't think ABS training will be a problem for fleets because the manufacturers are more than upfront with training. If you can spare the time, they'll make sure that they get the training to your people.
In 1989, 1,400 people sent in a $100,000 deposit to be the first on their block to own the Jaguar XJ220. Demand outweighed supply, and 350 owners were chosen from a draw. Since then, many of the buyers have refused to pay the second $100,000 installment. In response, Jaguar has issued writs for non-payment. Some buyers have threatened to sue Jaguar. The problem is that many who regarded the XJ220 as an investment are having second thoughts after a recent event. Nick Mason of Pink Floyd fame reportedly sold his $830,000 XJ220 for a loss of $320,000.
It's time for the final update on our 3 long-term testers. Now, since we aired the problem with the Chrysler and the brackets at the back end, we received a call from Chrysler themselves and from one of their chief engineers. He wanted more specifics on the problem and the vehicle identification number. Now, using the VIN, he tracked the car all the way through the build process and determined that an upgraded suspension had been added after the car was built, and it was at that point that the brackets were left off. The Corolla, no new problems. In fact, the only thing I can say about this car is when we took it in for the oil change, they actually gave us a 40% discount on the job. The Camaro, well, we reported the turn signals were giving us a problem. They still are. They failed 2 more times. However, GM reassure us that the problem has been fixed permanently. Now, only time will tell. Let's go and check the logbook for the last time. The Intrepid was a great hit with all who drove the car, many saying that the level of performance and handling engineered into the car exceeded expectation. That said, all commented on the heavy fuel usage and the amount of noise associated with the V-rated tyres. Now this is a family sedan after all and not a sports car. On the subject of sports cars, the Camaro was the car of choice for long trips or if a dull day needed brightening. The downside to the test were the turn signals. They always seemed to follow Murphy's Law and quit at the most inopportune moment. I sincerely hope that GM are right when they say they have a fix for this problem. The Corolla is, was and will be the car of choice when it comes to a small family car. It combines comfort, performance and great fuel economy in a really neat package. There really isn't a downside to the Corolla except that it could perhaps be a little more affordable. Well, that's it for these three, except to thank Chrysler, General Motors and Toyota for allowing us to put their products under the microscope.
Our Midas tip of the week concerns replacing headlight bulbs. A pretty simple task on many of today's cars. Most of them have aerodynamic headlights. Many of the trucks are this fashion as well. And in that case, you just go behind the lamp, open the hood, find the plug and unplug the headlight, give the cam a quarter turn to unlock it and pull the bulb out the back. You can see how small and compact that bulb is. Set the old bulb aside, take the new one and install it. Now if you inadvertently handle the glass portion of the bulb, polish any fingerprints off with a Kleenex or some alcohol before you install it. It just loads in the back again, you push it in, give the cam a quarter turn and plug in the connector, you're done. It's probably one of the only jobs on today's vehicles that doesn't require any hand tools. That's your Midas tip of the week.
Station wagons, they're perfect family vehicles, but they can also be death traps for your kids. We'll be back in Kenzie's Corner in a moment.